Welcome to this explainer of ACIM, specifically Lesson 151. Today, we're diving into a genuinely life-altering concept. The lesson is simply this: all things are echoes of the voice of God. Now, if you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by how unpredictable and chaotic life can be, you are absolutely in the right place today. Let's just get right into it.
So let's start by acknowledging a very real, honestly, very human experience. The world we live in, it can feel deeply threatening. It's full of sudden twists of fortune, bitter little jests, fleeting relationships, and these so-called gifts that seem like they're just lent to us, only to be painfully snatched away again. It is so incredibly easy to look at a constantly changing, chaotic world and instantly throw your defenses up. But today, we're going to use this profound idea that all things are echoes of the voice of God as our anchor to find ultimate, unshakable peace right in the middle of all that chaos.
Section 1. The illusion of safety. I really want to validate something the text makes crystal clear right off the bat. True peace of mind is literally impossible when we believe danger is constantly threatening us from the outside. The source text points out something pretty stark. The world provides no real safety. It's fundamentally rooted in attack. It attacks, and then it just attacks again. Any sense of safety we think we get from worldly things, it's actually an illusory deception. When we rely on the external world to keep us safe, we're basically building our house on sand.
Moving on to Section 2, the trap of defensiveness.
This right here brilliantly illustrates the mental prison we end up building for ourselves. It's this cascading loop of fear. Think about it. When we feel threatened, it instantly brings up anger. And that anger, well, it suddenly makes attacking back seem completely reasonable, totally justified, and righteous in the name of self-defense. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Attacking actually attests to our own weakness, and that weakness just breeds even more fear. It's a devastating chain reaction. The text beautifully, or maybe tragically, describes this as circles within circles, binding the mind in heavy bands of steel. You're constantly cycling between attack and defense with seemingly zero escape.
So the absolute crucial point here is that by building up all these defenses, we're actually sabotaging the holy peace of God. We literally become slaves to our own fearful imaginings. The ego demands these defenses, right? But in them lies a grim kind of madness. We end up acting like helpless victims to our own fantasies and illusions. And then, get this, we try to defend ourselves with even more fantasies. We sacrifice our own peace of mind, feeling this heavy iron grip on our hearts, all to maintain a defense system that is, at its core, fundamentally broken.
Which brings us to Section 3. Defenselessness is true strength.
Now, this is a massive paradigm shift. It completely redefines how we usually understand the word defenselessness. Dropping our walls isn't victimhood. Actually, scratch that. It's the exact opposite. It's a profound testament to recognizing the truth, recognizing the Christ in you. True defenselessness can never be attacked. Why? Because it recognizes a strength so incredibly vast, so infinite that the very idea of attack just becomes silly. The text actually likens an attack against this kind of strength to a foolish game a tired child might play right before falling asleep, forgetting what they even want. When you stand in true defenselessness, you are standing in a state of complete spiritual invulnerability.
Let's look at Section 4, the flaws of human judgment.
It's a really fascinating paradox, isn't it? We base our intense judgments on what are essentially senseless fragments of a dream, treating our own illusions as if they're hard reality. We end up fighting against fearful images that we've made up ourselves, mistaking these tiny, terrifying little instants for eternity, instead of trusting the eternal voice of God. It begs a really important question. Why on earth do we put so much trust in our own weakness when such profound, unassailable strength is right there waiting for us?
This paints such a stark contrast between the two paths we can choose from. The ego's way, it relies heavily on defensiveness and weakness, which just keeps you constantly apprehensive, constantly full of doubt, and proclaims you've denied your true nature. God's way, on the other hand, offers absolute salvation. It offers defenselessness backed by an immense, untouchable strength. It brings a certainty that rests on something so absolute that all your doubt and fear just simply become meaningless.
Section 5. Hearing the voice of God. When you finally let truth reinterpret your experiences, absolutely everything changes. The voice of God recognizes only what God loves, rejoicing in the fact that you are created completely unassailable. When you truly allow this perspective to sink in, all those dark, fearful whispers of the ego just vanish. They completely disappear, and you're left standing secure, serenely certain of your own safety.
This is how we bridge that gap between illusion and truth. It completely removes our faith in disaster and loss. By adopting this mindset, we choose to look past dreams today. We realize, hey, we don't need any defense because our purpose is holy. And by doing this, you learn the single overarching lesson that all happenings contain. It allows you to literally hear the echo of God's voice in absolutely everything. Every single circumstance, no matter how it looks on the surface, becomes an opportunity to extend a holy blessing out into the world.
And finally, Section 6, the daily miracle practice. So how do we do this? Well, the text gives us a very clear framework. It asks us to carve out dedicated moments in our day to actively practice this. It simply says to be still a moment. Just stop. In that silence, you watch your thoughts and you actively recognize that you have left all those fearful defensive thoughts behind. You evaluate your true holy purpose, strip away all those messy threads of fantasy, and realize that as a minister of God, your happiness is fully and completely guaranteed.
I love the imagery here. Think of this practice like laying a beautiful gift of snow-white lilies on the world, replacing all those old witnesses to sin and death. The text tells us that it's our function to help our brothers choose the truth, exactly as we have. Because here's the secret. We cannot fully realize our own escape, our own light, until we offer that exact same light to everyone else. By extending this holy blessing through the world, we are actively redeeming and releasing others from their own grim imprisonment.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on. When you rest completely secure in this light, when you truly know deep down that all things are echoes of the voice of God, what defense could possibly be needed? You are mightily protected by truth itself. There's no need for walls anymore. I invite you to step into your joyous ministry of peace today. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll catch you next time.